What's up, guys? This is TheRealQwade, and here we are with the Halloween tournament in progress here. I'm going to be recording these videos basically as they happen, but I'm not going to post them until the tournament is over for the sake of keeping, the surprise and anonymity of the teams and whatnot. So, my first round match here is against I'm Licking Cats. He's got a very fun team. He's got all four of the Musketeer Pokemon, plus a Conkeldurr and a Scrafty. So it's a monotype fighting team. I kind of like what I see here, mostly because they're all grounded. I'm going to be leading with my my Fortress, to try to get the Toxic Spikes up and then just rack up damage that way. To speak briefly on my team, this isn't the team that I think is more optimized and the team that I prefer to use the most, but these are all Pokemon that I had EV trained. So the basic core is there with Fortress, Wobbuffet, and Vaporeon, but the other three I kind of had to sub in. Hopefully at some point you'll be seeing some Marowak action. I do like he hits like a truck, so hopefully in future, he doesn't make an appearance in this one, but hopefully in future matches you'll be seeing him. So let's just get this thing started and go from there. I'm using also my Zoroark and Toxicroak from my gym team, so if you've been watching those videos, you're probably quite familiar with them as well. And of course I love using Wobbuffet, so he was going to be on my team regardless. So anyway, lead with Fortress, like I had planned before. He goes for Cobalion, which is a Pokemon that I'm pretty unfamiliar with facing. I notice he does a lot of damage to Fortress. Now, my Fortress is specially bulky. I haven't invested in defense at all. It's all special defense, and he's even sassy, so his defense is not really as high as it normally would be. But I notice it takes a huge chunk off. I'm kind of thinking a Choice Band, but again, I'm not familiar enough with fighting Cobalion that I'm not sure if that's just normal damage that he does. So I managed to get one layer of Toxic Spikes. I switched to Wobbuffet because Wobbuffet's going to take this no problem, the close combat with the Psychic typing. So it does about a little less than a third of his health and damage, which again, it kind of makes me think like he's banded, but I can't take that risk of letting him even get a single turn of setup. That's kind of, as a rule of thumb, whenever you send out Wobbuffet, you Encore immediately, unless you have a very, very good reason not to. So I go for the Encore just to make sure. I know I'll be able to survive another one and then fire back a counter and then one-shot him and we'll go from there. So Wobbuffet will be crippled by the end of this, but if all goes as planned, he'll be down one, and Wobbuffet will at least be alive, and hopefully I can pass a wish from Vaporeon to get him back healthy. Because since his team is all fighting types, I'm thinking Wobbuffet's going to have a huge role if I can get him back to at least manageable health, since he resists a lot of the stabs. So here comes the counter, and he doesn't die. He's actually at 7 hit points right now, and I'm thinking, great, this is so frustrating. So pretty much out of necessity, like I mentioned before, if I can get Wobbuffet healthy with a single wish, then I feel like he's going to be doing a lot of work. So I actually switched to let Fortress fall to this. I managed to get a layer of Toxic Spikes. Also, his fighting stab is going to hit Fortress neutrally, and Keldeo is going to maim Fortress with his special attacks. So Fortress, I think, is the most sacrificable at this point. So I did. I go for Toxicroak just to get the Sucker Punch and finish him off, no problem. He's going to be double resistant, but he's only at 7 hit points, and his defenses have dropped drastically for so many close combats. So Toxicroak does his job. Now he goes with Virizion. It's another Pokemon I'm very unfamiliar with facing, but I know he's specially defensive, and he's grass, so he's going to be weak to Ice Punch. Toxicroak's not going to mess around. He's not really, I don't think he's going to be threatened by anything. He's resistant to both of Virizion's stabs. But I managed to one-shot him, get a lucky crit. I don't think it would have had a huge impact. I mean, it would have changed things in the future, which you'll see here in a second, but managed to one-shot him there, so that was good. He sends out Conkeldurr, goes for a Mach Punch. I wasn't sure what kind of set he was going to be running or what moves to expect, but I knew Toxicroak didn't really fear anything specifically that he would have had, so I go for the substitute. puts him at about half health with a substitute, so his Mach Punches are doing a little over a quarter of Toxicroak's health. But he's got the poison, which is going to be ticking away, so I'm going to come right at him with the Focus Punch, of course. He goes for another Mach Punch, so the sub is going to fall here. But he's going to take some nice, big, impressive damage from Toxicroak's Focus Punch. Now, Conkeldurr does have some nice general bulk to him, so I'm not expecting this to actually finish him off, but hopefully I'm thinking it'll get close enough that maybe a Sucker Punch. So it gets him down into the red, but he's got leftovers, so, which will briefly bring him to the yellow until the poison takes effect. So at this point, I'm not convinced the Sucker Punch will kill him. So I go for a little bit of cheekiness, because I'm expecting him to Mach Punch me again, which means he'll go first, which will then allow me to set up my substitute. Just barely. He's got enough HP to do that. And then he'll recover a little bit. The poison will then give Conkeldurr a net loss for the turn. The leftovers will help him a little bit, but the poison's going to hurt him. He's going to be very low, and again, there it is. So at this point, I'm going for it. I'm like, Toxicroak, you can probably finish him at this point with a Sucker Punch. Even though he's tough and he's resistant to it, his health is just so low. So, thankfully, because of the usage of Mach Punch versus another move that would have gone after Toxicroak, I now have a substitute up at my disposal. So his last 3 Pokemon are all going to get nailed by Toxicroak. Keldeo is the one that doesn't get hurt that much, but Keldeo can't really do anything to it because Toxicroak is immune to its water attacks and resistant to its fighting attacks and its ice attacks. He makes a critical mistake, goes for the Hydro Pump, which actually will heal Toxicroak for, I think it's a quarter of his hit points because of his dry skin. So he's going to get nailed by a Focus Punch here. Doesn't manage to take him down, but it's got him into the red. He's going to heal a little with leftovers, I believe. No, he actually doesn't. I don't think he has leftovers. So I go for the Sucker Punch to finish him off. He actually goes for the Taunt, which in this situation was actually a pretty good play because it'll mean that I won't get any subs up for at least a few turns, and he was going to fall to the poison regardless anyway. So if he didn't fall to the Sucker Punch, he knew he was pretty much doomed for Keldeo at this point, but he at least manages to stop any future setups at least for a few turns. But he goes for the Terrakion. I was fearing an Earthquake as soon as Terrakion is one of the Pokemon that destroys my poison team, so I've sort of become naturally angsty when I fight him. But of all the moves he could have chosen, he chooses X-Scissor, which is Toxicroak is double resistant to, so that's not a play I would recommend, because Toxicroak's substitute actually survives it, and then he fires back with a super effective Focus Punch with a stab. In the effect that he would have survived, he would have been pretty low anyway, and the poison would have taken effect, but it didn't come to that. So now Toxicroak's got a sub up. He's got 1 Pokemon left in Scrafty, which is weak to Toxicroak's Focus Punch, so at this point it's really a formality at this point. Toxicroak basically did his job as the sub-puncher. Sub-punchers are already, hard to deal with for a lot of people who aren't used to facing them, just because they're both strong and tough at the same time. So basically getting a sub up, even just a little bit, just to get a single Focus Punch off can really help out your team. But Toxicroak manages a pretty clean sweep of the entire team, with the exception of Cobalion, who Wobbuffet did a lot of the work on that one. But a little support from Forretress, a little help from Wobbuffet, but this was pretty much all Toxicroak. So you've seen some similar sort of plays from the gym teams, but Toxicroak shining on a normal team as well. So hopefully we'll see some interesting Marowak play or some Vaporeon stuff later on. Those are the two that you didn't really get to see, but we'll see what happens. My next match is currently undecided at this point. The 2 people that I would be potentially facing haven't fought yet, but at this point when you're seeing the video, this will all have, solved itself anyway. But thank you guys for watching. Hopefully I'll have 3 or 4 more videos as I progress through the tournament and won't get knocked out early. So a good showing for a first round match, and I will see you guys later.